welcome to episode 2 of the Golden Breakdown. I'm one of your hosts, Brock Riney, joined by the godfather of the Gold Box, Derrick Pond. Derrick, how are you this evening? Good, sir?
Good, man. Just came down. I was watching some college football upstairs. A couple tight games going on, West Virginia and Pitt, and Purdue and Penn State. So excited that football's here, man.
College football is finally back, and I cannot wait. We are only a few more days away from the opening of the NFL season, and all of this stuff finally starts to count for something. I'm super excited for it. So I think what we're going to kick off today's episode is we're going to start off with a mailbag. So Derrick put in Golden Eagle Breaks room to drop your mailbag questions for the show. If you haven't yet, join the group and then throw your question down on it. So I'll throw the first one out here for you, Derrick, and then you can tell me what you think of them here. So, let's see. Daniel Rocha asks, talk about what makes a card grade worthy. I feel like people ask themselves daily if something that they own is worth sending in to get graded versus keeping it raw.
So, things have changed a little bit because of the prices to grade cards now. So, back when it was still $10 a card, you could basically grade, anything you wanted to if it looked good. Now I kind of have like a floor of like 60 to 75 if I'm going to be grading a card, because you think if you get a 10, then you can 3x your money there. You're looking at 180 to 200, and total, with the value of the card and what you pay to get it graded, you're in like $100. So you can kind of double your money at that cost. If you pull it in a break, obviously that's different, but I'm talking about if you're buying singles. I don't try to grade anything under that amount right now. So if we're talking about value, that's kind of the floor for me. And condition is everything. So it also matters like what you're grading too. So if you're grading vintage, some stuff's worth sending just to see what you can get. I mean, it's hard to tell what's going to be a 5 or a 6, and with that stuff it's a little different. But with modern cards, I don't send anything that I don't think will at least 9 and have a chance at a 10. I'm not sending stuff that I know for sure is a 9 and might 8, if that makes sense, because the time away from you, the cost of grading, with what it is right now, it's just not worth it. So I'm sending in stuff that I know can for sure get a 9 and then have that chance at a 10. I'm not really sending anything else right now.
And then you guys are you doing now a PSA submission, so you also are accepting cards from people where you'll also give them a wipe down and
yeah, so
see if it's worth it. Like me, I don't grade anything, right? So I would much rather depend on your expertise of someone who has done multiple grading sessions and had success at it than someone like me where I'm like, I think it's centered. That's fine.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Joel Florian, who's actually in the group, sent me a lot of about, I want to say 20 cards. And there was about 8 or 9 of them that he thought they all looked like 10s or 9s or 10s. And I'm coming back, I found 7 or 8 that would not 9. And I'm sitting here like, I send him videos because I want people to learn too. That's part of it. So I don't just look at the cards and say, oh, this is not going to get a 10, so I'm not putting it in your pile. No, I sent him videos like, here's what you want to look for. A lot of people don't look at the back of the card. They just look at the front. Oh, the front looks great. And then you flip it over and there's a big dent in the back of the card or a big scratch. So you got to look at both sides. I get this super bright LED light out and shine it over it because you can see little dimples and little scratches you can't see with the naked eye. So anyway, moral of the story is I saved him about $250 in grading fees, where he's only paying me $2 to look over a card and clean it. So I think it costs him, those 7 cards cost him $14 compared to $250, and he was thrilled. I mean, he's like, I'm just going to put those in the PC. Those are Trey Lance. I love that guy. I'm not going to grade him now, obviously, because I'm not going to get a good grade. So he was happy. And just want to let people know, if you're not comfortable with the grading process, you've never done it, feel free to send them to me, and I'll kind of walk through it with you.
Yeah, I think I'll be taking advantage of that, being a co-host. I think I'll be sending you something like that. So just to throw this out there, it's another mailbag question, so it follows up really kind of nicely with that. So Aaron Magliazzo wrote us different grading companies, pros and cons, and preference from your point of view.
So I'm a PSA guy through and through. Say what you want about them. I mean, they got kind of slammed when COVID happened. They weren't prepared for the amount of cars that started coming in. I don't think anybody was really prepared for what happened at that time. So I don't really fault them for that. What I do kind of not like about them now is that they upcharge you if your card exceeds different value ranges. So if I send in a card that's there, I think their first threshold is 500 or less. So if I send in a card that might be 400 raw, I'm sending it in at the 400 price that they charge. If it gets a 10, it now is over that value. So they'll upcharge you to the value of the card. I don't love that they do that, but at the same time, the value that a PSA 10 brings is worth it, if that makes sense. So if I got to pay 20 extra bucks on a grade, the PSA 10, if you can 3x your value on that raw card, it's worth it to me. If you're doing other companies like SGC, you're not going to, even if you get a 1010, you're not 3x in the value. Beckett, I don't really deal with Beckett anymore, to be honest. I'm not too happy with the way things are running over there right now, but SGC, if you're going the cheaper route with cheaper cards, I would recommend that. Stuff that you don't want to spend $35 a card on for PSA. But your bigger stuff, I'm still PSA all the way, just because of the value that a 10 adds to your card.
Yeah, it just keeps it the same, what seems like. Now, and also correct me if I'm wrong here. So obviously you said a 10 can get you 3 times or 3x your multiplier there. A 9, I would assume, would probably be slightly more value, and an 8 is kind of even value of being raw, right?
Yeah, and it just depends on the card too. Like low numbered stuff, 9s can get you a little more. So like if I grade a Trevor Lawrence gold prism and there's only 10 of them, and right, let's say there's only 1 10 and 2 9s. Well, once you get a 9, you're in a pop 3, which is really low pop because it's a low numbered card. So the value can rise a little more. But if you're talking like stuff that's like a super high number or not even numbered, yeah, I mean, definitely that's what we're talking about. So it just kind of depends on the value and the rarity too. But nothing is going to bring you more value to your cards than a PSA 10. And that's been proven time and time again from sales. So actually, if you're going now, I don't love the company as a whole. It's changed hands, but if you're looking for a cool PC slab, I actually like the look of the HGC slabs. Like I don't want to send them in for something that I'm gonna try to like flip necessarily, but I like the idea of the slabs being designed to your team. Like I'll show you an example real quick. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
Actually,
yeah, I know they can.
Actually, I can't show that. Actually, it's a card for the gold boxes, so I can't. But there's a card that is like team specific, and in the label, if you've seen HGC, you know. But they have you can get team logos, team designs on your slab. So if you're looking for something cheap that is going to just go into your PC that looks cool, HGC is cool for that. But if you're looking to maximize your money, PSA is definitely the way to go.
All right, one last mailbag question for us for the hobby. So Jake Kiss asks us, what are some tips that you have what tips do you have for new card collectors and how to start up the new hobby?
My biggest tip would be figure out what you want a PC, because stuff is more expensive now. So I went into the hobby back in and I'm like, oh, I'm a Colts fan. I'm just going to do all Colts. Well, I could do that in 2016 because a numbered Peyton Manning, non-rookie prism was like $5. So, and now it's 10, 15 times that. So just narrow down your PC to your favorite guys would be my first one. Or you're just gonna run yourself ragged trying to get all these different guys. Second would probably be go to card shows and just talk to people and be on the ground and make connections, because some of the best deals that I've made are from guys that I've met at shows, and we're not even talking about sports cards the whole time. And then we're talking about family and life. And at the end of the conversation, you know, I slide in like, hey, I'm a huge Peyton Manning fan. Well, you know what? I got a Manning that's just been sitting in my box. You know, I'd sell you that for a good price. And you end up, you know, making deals and trades. And not only that, but making friendships that last. And that's honestly what keeps the hobby going, is people like you and me talking about it and sharing our cards. So find a local card show or local card shop, take an hour, take your kids, just go have fun. That's really what's fun. And last thing, if you're going to get in breaks, just be smart about it. Have a limit, set your limit. Just don't go crazy. I've seen guys max out, you know, credit cards and stuff and do dumb stuff with cards like that. Don't do that. Like, I'm a breaker. Yeah, I want people to jump in, but I don't want anybody to like do that and then hate the hobby and put themselves in a bad situation. This is, yeah, it's an investment now, but it's also supposed to be fun. So, you know, set your limit. I would recommend, like we talked about on the last episode, setting a portion of your collection aside for flips and to make money to fund your hobby, because it is expensive now. That's the reality of it. But yeah, those would be my couple suggestions for sure.
I think I'll throw a couple extra things in there too. So
yeah,
obviously, when you're brand new to the hobby, rookies are where the monies are going to be at, specifically rookie quarterbacks. So
yep.
Don't necessarily trade a rookie quarterback that's probably worth more money than for somebody that's just your PC. You can end up selling that card and getting yourself a nicer PC card that way. And then talking about how you don't want to go above and beyond your budget, right? In this hobby, your name is the only thing that you have. So the moment that you're known as someone who doesn't pay or is a scammer or does something ridiculous, you're pretty screwed. It's really hard to get back over from that. And I've seen people who I've done deals with send me the cards just fine, and then 6 months later they get themselves in hot water, just like you were saying, where they buy into too many breaks or they promise a card that they don't even have right now. Just be ethical. Be good to everybody. Be nice to everybody. Cut people breaks. They'll cut you breaks. You'll be surprised. It's the easiest going hobby in the world if you're just nice to people. Some people are jerks, but most of them are pretty good people.
Yeah, and I've made a lot of lifelong friends that I'll have forever, not just at shows, but on Facebook. And part of that is just, you know, make it personal. Like people want to know like that you collect with your son. I mean, I've seen people like use their son to try to get deals. Don't do that kind of stuff. But you know, post pictures of yourself with your kid and then rip in and having fun. That's what it's all about. Just be you, be authentic, and be ethical, and it'll be a good, fun hobby for you.
100%. All right, so every week we're going to also go through whatever the latest and greatest are as far as new products that are coming out in the hobby. So, Derrick, what's new for this week? What do we have coming up, or what's brand new that's being ripped open right now?
Yeah, so we just opened some Luminance football, and I'm going to be honest, Brock. When they first made this product, I wasn't too impressed with it. It was kind of bland. Not a lot of like case hits, not a like cool inserts, stuff like that. But the last couple, what's that? 16
or 17. Was it 2016 or 2017 when they started? One of the two. Because I remember the first version, and it was bland.
Yeah, it wasn't cool at all. I want to say 18, but I might be wrong. Yeah, because I don't remember Mahomes having a rookie card in that, but I could be wrong. Anyway, so yeah, Luminance just came out. And I was so impressed with the cards. Now, it's college uniform, so you got to temper your expectations. There's a lot of people who collect college only, so I'm not sitting here trying to knock college cards because I'm a big IU football fan. I had a crazy IU collection of Jordan Howard, Tevin Coleman, just guys that went to Indiana. So I understand the college game. I love those cards. But Luminance, I think every card I pulled in the 6-box break was gradable. No bad corners. All the surface. Yeah, the surface was so good. They're making them on like a thicker, like they're still thin cards, but it's like a heavier, thicker stock. They used to be so flimsy, and I was just so impressed for the price. Like every card I pulled, we could have sent to be graded. I'm not even kidding you. It was weird. There hasn't been many products like that this year, or even in a while. So I was highly impressed with the price for Luminance. So if you got a chance to rip a box, I think you can get them for $300 or less right now. It's definitely a cool rip. I would recommend it. And it's the first
Two autos in each box? Is it 2 autos in each box?
3 autos and a mem, so you get 4 hits.
Wow. That's
Plus numbered cards. Yeah. And case hits. We hit a Joe Mixon far out case hit, and it was really cool. So they have cool stuff in Luminance this year. Coming up Friday, we've got Optic Basketball, which is always a favorite of mine. Optic anything is just awesome to me. You got the is Downtowns in basketball? I can't remember. I'm a big football guy.
Yeah, I think so, right? Oh, no, is it?
I think Panini One had. I don't remember. I'll look. Man, that sounds bad that I don't know that. Been a long week.
We mainly do football stuff, to be fair. Right?
Trying to venture into basketball more, but regardless, the autos and the colors in Optic are just, you guys know, they're really cool. So we got Optic Basketball coming Friday, and Select H2. It's going to be a cheaper chance to get those cool Select numbered cards and stuff. It's not as good as Hobby. There's a reason it's a third of the price, but it's going to be more affordable for those guys who are like, I'm not paying $65 a spot or $60 a spot to get in Select. So we will have a few boxes of H2 for you guys, and you can get some big stuff. Some of the H2 low-numbered stuff sells very well. Yeah.
Yeah, the variation in Select, especially H2, goes really well. It's just like, Prism low-number stuff. They're always going to carry value.
Yeah, like some of the Prism Gold stuff. I mean, it's lower than the Hobby True Golds, but man, for the price, it's good. So don't miss Select H2 coming out. That'd be a good one. And then next week, which by the time everybody watches this, this will probably be the product we're talking about. But Gold Standard is the next week, and that's the first product that's pro uniform. So everyone gets super excited about Gold Standard. The RPAs are really nice generally in Gold Standard, and they have the cool, the 10-karat gold veteran Hall of Famer autos. They actually have gem autos. I don't know if you know that, but we pulled a Joe Montana gem. They had a diamond on it. It's like,
wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was in Gold Standard at all. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're rare. They're hard to hit. I think they're all like 10 or less, but we hit a Montana one time.
And the mother load cards are always really nice in Gold Standards too. Whenever you're looking for the ones that have the multiple patches to it and everything, Gold Standards is a sexy product in my opinion.
It is, man.
It can be hit or miss though too. So I'm typically not a gold looking. I'm not looking for gold cards specifically, but man, I've hit some really nice Cowboy stuff out of Gold Standard in the last 2 to 3 years. Just sick looking stuff. I'm all about it. So I'll definitely be in a few of those breaks for sure.
It'll be fun. And a little preview for the group. I snagged some Elite first off the line today. So we will have some Elite first off the line coming up.
That's fun. And there's
I got lucky on that.
1 to 7 or 17 or what is that?
No, there's a gold auto guaranteed. So it's the gold pen. You get a gold pen pal or a gold turn of the century. I think the turn of the century golds are actually numbered to 25. And then the pen pals are just, I think they say they're out of 10 or less or something. So
I always like good simply because you never know what color ink you're going to get, or I just like hunting those things for whatever reason. That's fun. And then every time you open a pack, especially if you're breaking your own box and you happen to see the back of the card, you're like, oh shit, I got one. Let's go.
And Elite's got a lot of numbered stuff too. So a lot of cards ship out. A lot of people get hits, and some of the numbered die cuts and stuff do really well. So that'll be good for the price too. So don't miss Elite, don't miss Gold Standard. And yeah, those are the ones coming up that I'm most excited for.
Awesome. All right, so let's flip gears. So we spent the first little part of the show talking about cards and hobby. So we know that everybody's coming up now to where the season starts. We're just a little over a week away, or actually just under a week away now. When this thing launches, it'll be a few days for episode 2. So people's drafts should be pretty much wrapped up at the time, but a few people will still have last-minute ones. Let's talk a little bit about PPR versus non-PPR. Are there players that you're specifically gunning for in the different formats? And then I'll throw in a couple things after that as far as some running back options that I want to stay away from, and then other ones that I'm really interested in. I'm buying as many shares of as I possibly can. But we'll kick it over to you first for PPR versus non-PPR.
Yeah, so guys that don't know what that means, PPR is point per reception, and it means you get a point for every catch someone makes. So If your guy doesn't score a touchdown, but he gets 10 catches, you got 10 points right there plus the yards. So there's certain guys that will catch a lot of passes but not necessarily score touchdowns that can be valuable in those leagues. So my first one for a PPR grab would be Travis Etienne. I think he's going to be the pass catching back in Jacksonville, and he was really good at it at Clemson. I mean, he was running receiver routes, split out, doing all kinds of stuff. So I think they're going to be creative with him. We're creative with him this year. They used a high draft pick on him, and he's got that familiarity with Trevor Lawrence. So I don't know necessarily if he'll get the goal line touchdowns. I think James Robinson may have a role there. But in terms of, playing between the 20s and catching passes, I think he's going to be pretty valuable in PPR.
And with ETN, the other cool thing about him is because he was out all last year, his draft stock is way lower than what it was a year before. And kind of what you were saying there, I tend to stay away from running backs on bad teams, which I don't think Jacksonville is going to be good. But I do like pass-catching running backs on bad teams simply because if you're down by 21, there's a lot of dump-off passes that happen. And you can very quickly in the third and fourth quarter go from having a 7-point score for ETN to him being up to 21 points simply because they're just feeding him the ball. We're just wearing out the time. So, yeah, I completely agree. I think he's great for PPR. Whereas without PPR, I probably wouldn't favor him nearly as much.
Yeah, and this next guy, awesome receiver, but he's kind of in a spot where I don't know if he's going to catch a lot of touchdowns, and that's Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh. The reason I say that is because Chase Claypool is enormous. George Pickens is enormous. Pat Freiermuth is emerging. Najee Harris is going to get his touches down there, and it's like they have all these big, tall guys. And generally, slot receivers and smaller guys like that won't do so well inside the goal line area. So I like him to catch a lot of passes. He's electric, and he's really good. And he's probably their number one receiver in terms of targets. I'm not sure if the touchdowns will be there, though, just because of the height and the weapons they have around him. So I would say I like him more for PPR than standard. But, I mean, you never know. But looking at that team, that's kind of where I'm at. What do you think?
100%. I do think he's going to have a little bit of a regression simply because he doesn't have Big Ben anymore, and obviously the QB is going to be a little bit of a question mark. The other thing to be concerned about, too, is he'll be great in PPR, but Najee Harris could also have some long-term injuries here. He's dealing with a Liz Frank injury. If you've ever dealt with that or seen anybody deal with it, especially it happens a lot in baseball, those are really hard to get over. I really think that Najee could end up losing a little bit of time to it, and the biggest problem is if it gets continually worse, he's going to be benched for a while. He may end up hitting the IR for it. We'll see. But if you take away the running back there, then those targets have to go somewhere else. And I'm with you. I think he's going to be the slot guy, so he's going to get all the dump-off passes that Freiermuth doesn't end up getting. And the other two are just gigantic monsters, and they're going to score a lot of touchdowns. I just hope that I hope the quarterback situation doesn't make the wide receivers there suffer,
Yeah, absolutely. And last on my list is Jerry Jeudy in Denver. And I love Russ. I love the situation, but it's kind of the same deal here. So Cortland Sutton's a big guy. I think he's going to get a lot of red zone targets. The Albert O, I don't know how to say his last name, but they like him in the red zone a lot. He's a big tight end. And then Javonte Williams, I feel like they're going to run a lot down there. But like same thing with Deontay, like inside the 20s, between the 20s. I think he's going to catch a lot of passes. I think he's going to be kind of like the Michael Crabtree when Cooper and Crabtree were on the Raiders. I think he's going to get him down there, and then Crabtree is going to get, Crabtree got the goal line fades and all the touchdowns, and I feel like that could definitely be the role that him and Sutton take on is kind of what those guys were. So I like them both. Don't get me wrong. I think they're going to both have pretty good years. But for PPR, I do like Jerry Jeudy more, and for standard, I would take Sutton, honestly. But that's just kind of
he'll end up getting more touchdowns realistically, and obviously with Russ getting his extension for another 3 or 4 years. Either way, he's signed to be the quarterback for the Denver Broncos until he's 40 now. So obviously they have faith in him. And I do like having Judy, again, coming off of an injury year, having a quarterback upgrade. I love those things. Anytime that you're coming off of an injury and you're getting a better quarterback, yes. I mean, fresh legs, and you've got a much better guy throwing you the ball this time. So I'm totally in on all those for sure.
Cool.
I've got one other thing to go run through here, and that's going to be some running backs. Or I'm sorry, did you have any other ones on there? Or was that the last one?
I was going to do the standard pickups because we did PPR, so I'll kind of go through them quick. So I got A.J. Brown for standard leagues. I think it kind of might be the same situation as we talked about with Sutton. I kind of like Devontae Smith to get a lot of targets. I think they'll both get a lot of targets, don't get me wrong, but that's a running team. And I think that Devonta Smith will probably split the receptions or targets with him. But in the red zone, A.J. Brown's a monster.
Yes, he is.
Devonta's smaller, so I think A.J. is going to be the number one target in that area. So I would go after him in standard more than I would PPR. My next guy would be Nick Chubb for standard. They have Kareem Hunt there for that pass-catching back role, and he's cemented in that because he's honestly maybe one of the best in the league at that.
Yeah.
And Nick Chubb is right. And Nick Chubb is the for sure goal line workhorse. He's going to get those carries. But they did not involve him in the pass game too much. I don't see that changing much. Not that he can't do it, but when you have Kareem Hunt, if they're going to keep him, you definitely want Kareem Hunt out there for pass catching situations. And then number 3 is A.J. Dillon, kind of the same thing. Aaron Jones, they're talking about putting him in the slot more. They're talking about running a bunch of different crazy routes with him. So I like Aaron Jones for PPR, and I like A.J. more in standard for the touchdowns and goal line carries and stuff like that.
Makes total sense, especially in one of those like in Green Bay where Dillon can get hot, though, too. Like we saw that last year where there was times when he was just running his ass off and getting tons of fantasy points at the time. But I'm with you there where it makes a lot more sense. With Jones, it's kind of funny how that flips when you're looking at the other places, right? So compared to Cleveland, the lead dog is Chubb. Obviously, you would take him in non-PPR, whereas Aaron Jones is completely the opposite, right? So it's so funny how that works. I think, obviously, the Cleveland Browns are going to be dog-awful for the first 10 games easily, and I don't like taking those types of running backs. So, like, Chubb is one of those guys that I'm honestly just staying away from. I'll actually take more of a flyer on Kareem Hunt simply because of the upside. Because he gets lots of PPR love, and if he gets moved to a different team, obviously he'll get a lot more work that way.
Yeah.
So I got three running backs for you that I think are ones that are great values at where they're being drafted right now, and then I've got 3 that I am just completely staying away from. So I'd love to hear your opinion on them. So first one that I've got here, it's really kind of a comparison. Actually, I wanted to ask you before I actually go into it. Who would you rather have? Would you rather have Rashad Penny, or would you rather have Devin Singletary? Because they're both kind of in that same generalized area together. Call it PPR.
I'd rather have Rashad Penny right now.
Tell me why.
I don't trust the running back situation in Buffalo. I have no idea who they like, who they don't. They added James Cook. I know Seattle added Kenneth Walker, but he's hurt, so really all they have right now is Penny. Penny's safer, I'll say that.
And see, I'll actually flip it on you. I think that Singletary is actually safer.
Really?
And the only reason why is in a PPR league, right?
PPR, okay.
Back from the better offense. And obviously Buffalo is a great offense. Now, anybody can get hurt, so those things are really to the side. But for me, I do like Rashad Penny this year, and I think it's a coin flip, to be fair. If someone tells me, I prefer Penny, yeah, that's fine. That makes sense. For me, it's just about not taking running backs from bad teams. That's all it is. So if I'm looking at a coin, I'm not even going to flip the damn thing. I'm going to take the guy that's on the really good team like every single time, honestly. Second one for you.
I haven't drafted either of them in any of my leagues, so if that helps.
I've been getting them in almost every league that I've been playing in. And what's crazy is I end up with like 3 of the same guys. It's always like Rashad Penny, it's always Devin Singletary, and it's J.D. McKissick for whatever reason.
Wow.
I always end up with those 3 guys. But speaking of McKissick, Brian Robinson, the running back that got carjacked the other day, in camp, everyone's raving like he's about to take over the starting job. Like he's going to beat out, what's his name, Gibson and McKissick. So no structural damage from what they said from being shot. So I would assume he's going to be out some sort of time, but they're not telling anybody anything. But how do you feel about Brian Robinson hearing that all the stuff he's been doing in camp so far?
I still like him, honestly, especially for keeper leagues and dynasty leagues where you can get him. He wasn't going very high before the news. He's probably even going lower after. He's a great late-round shot for a keeper league. Standard, you may want to wait another round on him just because you don't know. We don't have a timetable at this particular moment in time. But, man, Gibson has had every opportunity to be that lead back, and he just hasn't been very good. So I like Robinson for that reason.
Yep, same exact reason here. I'm targeting him most of the time in the 12th or 13th round, just so everyone knows, gives you a generalized idea. At that point, you have the ability of keeping him on your bench because he's depth at that point. He's not going to be one of your starters, but the whole idea is that you want to have as many ballers as your backups that you can to trade those away in case a wide receiver goes down, your tight end ends up being terrible, or your quarterback, I don't know, likes to get hand jobs a lot or something and has to miss 11 games. Like sometimes those things just happen. Jeez. All right, last one for you. And this is my favorite one from the list is Ramondre Stevens. So a couple, or Stevenson, excuse me, for New England, right? With James White retiring, Stevenson is now starting to get third down work inside of camp. And one of his things during the offseason was that he wanted to improve his pass catching abilities. So here's where I am with that and the reason why I'm continuing to go up and up and up. So I was able to get him like in the 12th or the 13th round when we were first starting to do drafts. Now he's already getting in the 8th and 9th round, and I still am okay with taking him in the 8th. So the reasoning for that is with the loss of James White being gone and retiring, someone's got to fill in those receptions and point out who is a decent wide receiver realistically outside of Jacoby Myers in New England. There's just nobody there. You got two tight ends who apparently just block a lot. They don't even catch the ball much. So when White averaged 5.4 receptions per game last year, so even if you just take what Ramondre Stevens was projected to do and add 7 points to it, which is kind of what 5.4 receptions would probably net you, if not more, I think that's an easy buy in round 8, round 9, even if you're going to have to go ahead and just grab him a little earlier than what you want to or what ADP says. That's one of those guys I just think is going to pay off.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really like Ramondre at that point in the draft. Patriots running backs are always scary. Like, I could see Damian Harris just getting the bulk of the carries, and I would be like, well, crap. Right. And you just never know with New England. But I will say this. When they find a guy, if they find a guy that they really like, they will go to him. People say, oh, Bill Belichick will never do that. You guys forget about Corey Dillon. You remember he got every single carry that season and had a great year. So if you can get lucky.
It was a one and done Corey Dillon.
Yeah. If you can get lucky and get that right running back for the Patriots, it can pay off for sure.
Because they're definitely going to be a heavy running team. They're not going to throw all that on Mac's shoulders. So he's obviously shown that he's not there yet, right? So they're going to have to be a heavy run-first team, heavy defense team, and just keep games close. That's how they win. Would
you draft Ramondre over Damian Harris?
Yes, absolutely, actually. Not even close, actually.
And, well, I think in keeper leagues it's a for sure yes.
Oh, yeah.
In standard, it's –
I'll take that risk, basically, is the way to say it.
Yeah. At that point, I think you take the risk. I think I agree with you.
Because his upside is so high, and every time he touches the ball, he just averages so many yards per play that he was doing, especially the second half of last year. The guy was just crazy elite. So I love seeing those types of guys, and you usually don't see their ADP be quite as high because their first half of the year was a little silent. So they're averaging out how many points you're going to get. We'll see. Right. I think he's definitely one of those guys that I'm jumping all over. All right, so last thing for us, we're already at 35 minutes. It's amazing how easy it is to talk to you, you handsome devil. But I've got 3 running backs for a just stay the hell away list, and I'll go through my reasonings why. You can feel free to tell me that I'm crazy. Again, my personal opinion. Please don't gamble your money on anything that I say because I talk a lot, and not all of it's always true. So first guy, Josh Jacobs. He's going 35 overall ADP. I don't know if Josh McDaniels just hates him. Kenyon Drake is now gone, but it still sounds like they're going to go to a running back by committee. And to me, if the asking price for Josh Jacobs is 35th overall, it's just too high. I mean, if he ends up falling into the 5th round, which I just don't see him doing, but he might, that's where I can see the value is there. But paying for him in your 4th round pick or 3rd round pick, depending on how big your league is, that's one of those picks where if you take one of those guys too early and they're a bust, it could ruin your entire season. It's just too early to trust to that.
Yeah, I'm not taking him as one of my first 2 backs. If he's my 3rd back,
Right.
yeah, pull the trigger. Yeah.
Yep.
But if you're relying on him to be one of your top 2 backs, I don't know. I don't get it. Like, I think in a perfect world, that offense could be really good, and if he gets the bulk of the carries, he could be really good. But
Right.
for whatever reason, there's just like this weird feeling around him. And Zamir White, the backup, has looked really good too. And they haven't wanted to pay Jacobs yet, so I almost wonder like if they're going to give this kid a shot. So I don't know. We'll see. They let Kenyon Drake go, so obviously they like White enough to do that. So.
And he's another one of those guys that just keep as a late round flyer, guys. Like just grab Zamir White. It could be one of the last picks in the draft for you, outside of kicker and defense. Which remember, always do that last. Please don't waste your kicker defense picks early. All right, number 2, and you might disagree with me on this because we've already had him a little bit on the show. Javonte Williams, same exact reason. I could be totally now. This one I'll back off a little bit because I could 100% in 2 weeks' time be eating crow and just being like, this guy is amazing. How many leagues did you draft him in, Brock? 0. And the reason why is he's just so high where he's at. Like I just don't see that someone who's going to go 15th overall, who still has Melvin Gordon there, who's still healthy, who's still going to get carries. Your quarterback has now gone from a mediocre one to a really good one. So there's going to be more passing, less dependent on the run. Both of your receivers are healthy. You've got a new tight end in Albert O. You've got Greg Dulcich, who's going to be coming out as another tight end. I just don't see the pure just numbers of it, right? I don't think that he's going to get enough carries to warrant that specific position because Melvin Gordon's still going to be there in eating. I know he's the man, and everyone's already said that he is, but where I'm at there, rather than taking Javonte, I would probably look at taking either Aaron Jones or Leonard Fournette.
I've been hearing 60-40 split with him and Melvin.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a lot, though. 60-40 is a lot to Melvin.
Yeah, that's especially getting drafted that high. I was kind of faced with I was going to be faced with that issue, but the guy ahead of me took Javonte. So where I was at in my keeper league, the next 2 kind of best players were him and Cam Akers. And I was hoping that he picked Javonte so I could get Cam Akers. And Cam Akers is ranked lower than him on a lot of places, but if healthy, I think Cam Akers could have a really good season. Now, this all depends on health, but
right.
Rams' offense is really good. Cam Akers is explosive. It's just, I don't know. I see more potential in Cam Akers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes total sense. I'm completely in agreement. And then we've talked about this last guy one other time, Breece Hall. Same exact thing, right? I do like the player. I just don't like where he's being drafted. You have to, in some of your keeper leagues, take him in the 1st or 2nd round. And this is just my opinion, but the Jets just always find a way to screw crap up. It doesn't matter how good their team is. Someone's going to run their face first into some guy's ass in the offensive line, fumble the ball, lose the game. And I just see, and they really did have a great draft. But, I mean, Zach Wilson's already out for a couple weeks. You know, he's too busy out, flanging around with people's mothers, catching really nice. Did you see the pass that he caught on the sideline, though? That was pretty legit. He, straight up just, caught it, right in the middle. It's pretty great. I'll send you the clip later. But Breece Hall is he's too high. It costs too much money in order to invest. And one of the unwritten rules of fantasy football is you're really not going to lose your league in rounds 10 through 16, but you sure as hell can lose your league in round 1 through 5. If you draft badly there, that is detrimental to your entire season.
So Brees Hall. I ended up picking him in one of my leagues. It's a dynasty league, but he made it to the 6th round. So at that point I was like, there's no choice. Like, I understood why he fell. Just for the reasons you talked about, but 6th round, holy cow! And we do round value keepers. Yeah, it's like
that's
gotta take
crazy.
a shot.
The dynasty league that I just started up, he went in the 2nd round, but he went like 14th overall, and I'm like, no, thank you, good luck. I'm proud of you. One less problem for me.
I got him at pick 60.
That is so awesome. I mean, that's just amazing value. It doesn't matter.
I was stoked there, but
I bet, bro. Well, dude, that's it.
Yeah.
Episode 2 in the bag. Anything you want to tell the listeners before we sign off?
No, man, just enjoy this first week of football. It's like Christmas. Christmas coming early, so just get on Sunday, get in front of a TV, just park it and enjoy it. I don't know if you guys listening have Red Zone, but if you don't have Red Zone, you should definitely look into it.
I think you can buy it. Football.
Yes, I think you can just buy the Red Zone channel too. And if you're not familiar with what that is, it bounces around from game to game and just shows you the teams that are about to score. So it's like a fantasy football guy's dream, man. So check out Red Zone
all day long. I even wait for the little countdown that comes out in the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's on. Love it.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That's it for another episode of the Golden Breakdown. Episode 2 in the books. We'll have this thing up and rolling probably next week. I would assume Tuesday or Wednesday for a release date. We're going to try to start keeping these things consistent. You know, life comes in. It happens. But, yeah, that's all for me. I've been one of your hosts, Brock Riney. That's our godfather over there of the Gold Box, Derrick Pond. We're going to talk some more card collecting and fantasy football next time, everybody. Y'all have a good evening.
You guys. See ya.